welcome back to another video. I've been growing a garden for over 10 years and I'm pretty sure this is the first year that my garden did not freeze, and it's already the 1st of October. According to the local weather station, the average date of the first frost is August 21st. So this is pretty ridiculous. Like, normally I've been covering my garden and the flowers got killed by the frost, but I'm trying to keep these squash alive. But this year, not even a whiff of frost. It is about to get down to below freezing though, so there's not a chance they're gonna make it, so time to pick them all. Isn't this emerald green book just lovely? We see a lot of colors in our lives, but I think emerald green is one of the more rare ones. Like, I don't even know the last time I've seen it. I've only come across one painting that uses this vibrant emerald green as the primary color in the painting. So yeah, because of that, I was kind of unsure if this would work. And to make things extra hard, the painting is all green. I don't know, I think anytime you have a lot of similar colors, it can kind of make things more difficult. It starts to become monochromatic in a way, and it gets kind of difficult to keep it interesting. I was hopeful though, because when I set up this still life, I just really liked the colors together. And that's a good sign. If I like the colors and I'm excited about it, and it seems like it'll be interesting to paint, then at least I'll have fun with it. It almost seems unfair to call all these colors green, because they're all so different. They cover a pretty wide range. The emerald green gets really close to the blues, and the warm green that the squash is sitting on, that gets really close to the yellows and oranges. To keep this painting interesting, I tried to find hue and saturation fluctuations across the colors. Like that emerald green background, you can see that it changes in warmth from right to left. This wasn't pre-planned, but it does make a catchy title for the video. I only used one brush on this whole painting, excluding the sketch, I'll admit, but I feel like that doesn't really count. That's the sketch. But for the painting part, all one brush. Whenever I do a color study, this is my go-to brush. It has these little hue and saturation fluctuations, so it just lightens the load on me a little bit to get color variety. It's from MaxU's Oil MaxPack. There's a ton of brushes in there. Anyway, yeah, just look up MaxPack brushes and it'll come up. I did wonder if I wanted to keep going with this painting and level up the detail and start bringing in some other brushes, and especially soften edges. That makes a big difference. But I decided to just leave it as this one brush painting because I really like the brushwork, and going into it I just wanted to study this emerald green and get a cohesive painting with 3 different greens in it. So I met my goals and I decided to leave it at that. I feel like my method for digital painting has some weird quirks that maybe most people don't do, because I've seen other people do them as a novelty and kind of as a clickbaity title. Like, I'll see people do a 1-layer painting and that's like, oh, so weird. And I kind of do that, like, not really. Yes, it's a couple layers, but compared to most digital artists, I mean, basically it's 1 layer. Towards the end, definitely, I merged them all, or even halfway through, I just merged them. I have the mind of a traditional painter, and I'm not really good with technology, and I don't have a lot of patience for it, so I just have the canvas layer with a paper texture, and then on the next layer, I do the sketch. And then underneath that layer, I do the painting, and then I just merge the sketch and the painting together, and I keep working on it. When I was first learning how to paint digitally, I really liked Aaron Blaze's work, and I still do. So I was trying so hard to follow his method. He uses quite a few layers, but they're very planned out, and he uses different blend mode effects. Anyway, that was kind of a valuable lesson for me because I thought, he's a professional, he's amazing. If I just follow his steps, then my paintings will turn out pretty good too. And they did not. Man, I struggled. My paintings did not look good, and I did not enjoy doing them, which is not good. You need to enjoy your art if you're gonna be consistent with it and have the momentum to keep going and keep improving. So then I think it was Marco Bucci. He paints like this. So seeing him do it, I was like, oh, okay, like it's the complete opposite of Aaron Blaze. So I gave it a try, and this is just what works for me. This is how my mind works. This is what I understand. So yeah, like I said, that was a valuable lesson because I used to take everything that a professional artist said at face value. You know, if they said do it this way, I was like, of course, they said, and their art is the best, so that must be the only acceptable way to do it. And as I listened to the advice of more artists, I realized they contradict each other a lot, and for a lot of things, especially technique and style-wise, there's a lot of different options for how you can do things. Another example of that is I heard someone say that you should be constantly changing your brush, like every 5 minutes you should switch brushes. So yeah, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, because I like his art and that's what he does, so I'm gonna do it too. And it was so overwhelming, and I had a really hard time. Every time I switched brushes, it was kind of jarring and kind of pulled me out of the groove. Because every time I switched brushes, it was new and I wasn't familiar with that brush. Like, to be familiar with that many brushes, if you're gonna work on a painting for that long and switch every 5 minutes, that's kind of ridiculous. Then I saw someone else, I can't remember who, they said you should just use brushes that you're familiar with, like 1 to 3 brushes on a painting. And I think Bobby Chiu is kind of like that because he'll use the default brush for an entire painting. So yeah, I learned my lesson, and I guess to sum it up, if every artist, or most artists, say you should do things a certain way, probably do it that way then. I'm thinking of things like anatomy, like everyone that's good says, no, you need to study anatomy at least a little bit. So that would be true. But things where they contradict each other, then it's kind of up to you and just whatever works for you. Okay, I think I better talk about my own painting here for a while now. One of my favorite parts of this painting, on what's now the right, the light bounces off the emerald green onto that warm green on the bottom, and like you can see the emerald green kind of appearing on it, and it mixes. It's just, I don't know, I thought that was really interesting. And along the bottom of the book, I'm not sure why, maybe there's a lot of bounce light getting caught in there. The saturation really goes up before the bottom of the book, like where the occlusion shadow is. I don't think I really observed it in this case because the shadow was quite soft. It's from window lighting, but a lot of the times around a shadow, it'll get very, very saturated right before it transitions into light. And so I kind of did that, even though I didn't really observe it. On the emerald green, where the squash is casting a shadow, I kind of bumped up the saturation between the shadow and the light. I had some trouble with the squash because modeling the form of an object with a very dark local value is quite tricky. So yeah, I'm not sure how I did on that. When I squint and look at it, it looks decent, but I feel like it could be better. There's also some nice bounce light, especially on the top of the squash where the emerald green is kind of reflecting off of it. That was tricky. I have a hard time like showing form when there's really subtle value changes. Something I think about while painting, and I kind of follow what I see in this case, it's not too much of my own opinion, is where edges get kind of lost. So on the left side, it's a dark squash against a light background, and on the right, it all goes into shadow and becomes very close in value. And doing stuff like that makes for good visual variety. If you would like to see this painting in its full resolution, that will be available on my Patreon. I also post high-resolution images of my sketchbooks there, and a monthly informative art article. I hope you enjoyed the video and my art rambles, and I hope you have a lovely day.